Among 5 people killed in a crash at Deniliquin. Good evening, Edwin Maher with the late news. The names of the 4 people who died in the head-on collision have not yet been released, but police say they're all from St Albans. The 5th person to die in the collision came from Deniliquin. 2 others injured in the smash are still in a serious condition in the Royal Melbourne Hospital. Ian Henderson reports.
For 7 young people. Police say the accident occurred when the driver of a Ford panel van became caught in the gravel on the side of the road, overcorrected, slewed across the road and collided head-on with a combi van travelling north. The force of the collision sheared the panel van in half. Its driver, 23-year-old Mark David Haynes of Deniliquin, was killed instantly. 4 of the 6 people travelling in the combi van were also killed outright. Miraculously, the driver of the combi survived, as did a woman passenger who was hurled from the van on impact. Police haven't released the names of the people in the combi, as their relatives haven't been contacted yet, but said they were 3 couples, all under the age of 30, from the Melbourne suburb of St Albans.
Here at the scene of the accident this morning, there were plenty of grisly reminders of the sheer ferocity of the impact. Glass, personal possessions and pieces of the 2 cars, like this battered windscreen wiper, were found strewn along the roadside for a distance of 30 metres.
Today, one of the first people at the scene of the accident last night, Sergeant Laurie Carroll of Deniliquin Police, described what he saw.
Pure devastation in that 2 vehicles, one partly disintegrated, another one with the front of it stove in, bodies, and a person who was the driver of the combi van trapped inside the vehicle for a period of 3 hours, 3.5 hours before he could be released by the Deniliquin Search and Rescue. All the time that he was trapped, there was a doctor, several ambulance men working on him, trying to reduce his discomfort and keep him alive. It's a thing that I don't want to see again.
Is it the worst accident you've seen around here?
It's the worst accident I've seen in 21 years.
One of Australia's leading drag racing drivers tonight survived a 320 km/h crash at Calder Raceway. Melbourne driver Jim Walton's car slammed into a guardrail at close to top speed after the throttle jammed as he passed the finish line. Raceway officials said Walton failed to release his safety parachute. Friends and officials raced to aid Walton, who was trapped in the driver's compartment. The 2000 horsepower car split in half on impact, hurling Walton over the rail and down an embankment. Officials said Walton was lucky to survive, as $40,000 cars are mainly made of fiberglass. Ambulance men gave Walton oxygen while he was trapped in the driver's compartment. With the help of race stewards and other drivers, Walton was placed on a stretcher and lifted over the guardrail to an ambulance. He is reported to be suffering a broken leg in the Western General Hospital. The Labor Party has dropped its proposals for a capital gains tax in favour of a crackdown on tax avoiders. At the party's National Women's Conference in Canberra, its leader, Mr Hayden, said there were no plans to introduce new taxes. Mr Hayden got a cool reception at the conference because of a dispute about the pre-selection for the seat of Lowe. Delegates were unhappy the former Labor candidate, Ms Jan Burnswoods, had missed out on pre-selection this time.
Jan Burnswoods, the unsuccessful candidate, and today her supporters were able to make a political point with some rather obsolete posters. Labor women let Mr Hayden know they were angry that she'd lost pre-selection. When Mr Hayden entered the hall, the applause was, at best, polite. Seconds later, carefully orchestrated, Jan Burnswoods entered to an enthusiastic welcome. During his speech, Mr Hayden was continually heckled and hissed as he defended the pre-selection decision. Mr Hayden answered them by saying the motivation behind the protest was not the representation of women, but faction fighting.
I won't be intimidated by the sorts of threats or public comments which have been made. I will work for the best interests of the Labor Party. I will not be browbeaten into accepting an explanation about what the main motivation in this issue is when it's clearly fictitious. If those people who are now arguing so vocally about the issue of affirmative action want to be taken with credibility, then they have to be consistent. And I suggest that that is the biggest issue that has to be cleared up at this conference.
Police in New South Wales have arrested one of Victoria's top 10 criminals, Nick Marinos. Marinos was arrested in a Sydney house by detectives on Thursday night. The ABC's police reporter in Melbourne says he was wanted in Victoria for failing to appear on 2 charges of armed robbery and 1 charge of attempted armed robbery. In San Francisco, police have shot dead a man who went berserk in an insurance office, shooting 7 people and killing 2 of them. The killer's wife was among the wounded.
This was the scene outside the Fireman's Fund building as paramedics carried out 7 people still alive. Victims of a man with a shotgun.
You got somebody to drive this rig or what?
Above, in the 17th and 18th floor offices of the Mission Insurance Company, 3 people lay dead, including the suspect, who was shot by police.
Well, the only thing, it reminded me of what I have read about when they say somebody goes amok.
Margaret Bishop played dead on the floor to avoid being shot.
We would hear him running around. He kept running around the office, and we could hear more shots, and pretty soon I could hear people being shot because I heard them cry out when they were hit.
One of those victims, Tim Tansey, with a shotgun wound to the foot.
There was a girl between the 17th and 18th floors, kind of lost, not knowing where to go. I ran up and grabbed her and kind of shoved her down, and then when I turned around, I got hit.
Strong enough to force an end to the arms race. Strong enough to force an end to the arms race. Argentina reported to be preparing to invade the Falkland Islands. 7 Malaysians arrested during a raid on a Melbourne restaurant today. The federal government orders changes to a drug used to prevent morning sickness, and a special report about preparations for tomorrow's elections. Now the details. The Federal Secretary of the Builders Labourers Federation, Mr. Norm Gallagher, and 8 of his colleagues have each been fined $500 for contempt of court, arising out of their refusal to answer questions at the Royal Commission into their union's affairs. If the fines aren't paid by the end of the month, the 9 will face the prospect of 24 hours jail. Christine Smith reports.
The fines were imposed late this afternoon in the Melbourne Supreme Court by Mr. Justice Crockett. They follow 2 days of legal argument resulting from an application by the State Attorney General, Mr. Hayden, to have the 9 show cause why they refused to answer questions at the Royal Commission into the Builders Labourers Federation. Those involved with the Federation's Federal Secretary